In this video, Davonji movie 1917, we will discuss the storyline, summarize the plot, and explore the cast and character. Additionally, we will cover the movie's production details and box office performance. Finally, we will probably use and share personal reactions. So let's get started. The entire movie is filmed as one continuous shot from start to finish, with characters moving from place to place in real time. In 1917, during the First World War, Corporals Scofield and the Black Guerras are sleeping under a tree when they are awoken by a sergeant, who asks Black to pick another soldier and report to his superior. Black grabs and they walk through the trenches, warning that we have been asked to do. Black hoped to be home by Christmas. They arrive at the General Armagolin quarters. He assigned them on extremely important mission. He wants him to cross over former German territory. They have retreated in order to get an extremely important message to Colonel, who is just chasing after the retreating Germans in order to finish them off. Explained that she is a mistake. The Germans are luring the British troop into a trap and he will be decimated. They has picked Black because his brother is in the troop that will be attacking, and this mission puts his life in line. Black is determined to save his brother, agrees instantly to the extremely dangerous mission. Black and his Scofield have immediately through the trenches until they find Lieutenant and give him their order to cross. Lizelle thinks it as insane idea, but gives them the instruction and the director on how to get through the former German line. He gives them a flare gun to be indicate that they have survived if they make it. Black and his Scofield make their way through the empty battlefield, full of wire, mutilated trenches, and in a massive super trench filled with the mud and bodies. Scofield's hand gets caught in the spider's wire, injuring him badly. He wraps injury and he moves onward. Eventually, the two finally finish crossing the space between and arrive at the German trenches, which are empty and abandoned. They go inside in the underground and find the German barracks empty and crawling with the rats. Black finds a trap wire, and before they can react, one of the rats crossing the wire. Underground, his Scofield is fully buried, but Black manages to wake him up and get him out so they can flee before the entire barracks collapse. Once out, Scofield angrily asks Black why he picked him to end this mission. Black explains he thought they were just going on food run. He never thought it would be the mission. Black fires the flare off. They continue onward finding a green era. Scofield tell Black they will likely get a medal for this. Black says it will be nice since Scofield lost his previous one. But Scofield tell him he did not lose it but swapped it for wine. Black is strong he did not take the medal home. But Scofield tells him to be hated having before. The two come upon cherry blossoms, which Black know because his mother has an orchard when he and his brother picked grapes. They find a house in the field, which they check out, find no one. In Scofield find a crow and a freshman, which he feels he can join with. The two soldiers witness a dogfight in the air between three planes, which end with the British shooting the German plane down and head straight for them. They run out of the wire as it crashes and pull the burning German pilot out of the cockpit. Scofield suggests putting him out of his misery, while Black tells Scofield to get him water. As he does, the German brutality stabs Black in the gut. Scofield shoots the German and he desperately tries to get Black patched up and move him. But it's too late. Black begins bleeding out and tells Scofield to write his mother and tell her was not scared. Scofield permissions him and tells him he will finish the mission before Black does. Shortly after, more British soldiers arrive. Captain Smith tells Scofield that they are passing through. They can him some of the ways to his destination. He advises Scofield not to dwell on the loss of his friend. Scofield rides in the back of a truck with some naughty soldier. When the truck gets stuck in mud, he leads them in pushing the truck. Once they get back in, he tells them his mission. Scofield gets dropped off a river that he must cross to get to his destination, and he comes under the gunfire. He managed to race into the building where the shooter is, and the two shoot each other. Scofield killed the German, but he is hit in the helmet and is knocked unconscious. When he awakes, it is night, and the town is lit by fire. He dodges gunfire as he races it through the burning town, eventually stopping to hide in the building, where he finds a woman who only speaks French hiding in fear. Scofield speaks French and tells her he is not German. She turns to come some of his wound and reveals there is a baby she is watching over. Scofield gives it some of his milk and explains she has no idea where it presents her. She begs him to stay with him, but he explains he must continue his mission. He goes back out on the firefight, having to kill and flee in order to survive. Being shot at out drives off a cliff into a river, which he fights to survive in. Eventually, the river calms and he reaches land, where he breaks into this apse. He keeps going until he hears singing and sees a group of soldiers sitting around listening to another sing. He sits and he listens, didn't tell the soldier he is looking for a second. The soldier tells him that's them, that they are following the Langer group. Scofield runs forward into the trenches, begging someone to listen to him, not to go forward with a attack, which no one will, it's too late. But instead, in sideways cross the active battlefield, which he does, he survives and gets back into the trenches and finds Colonel, who at first refuses to listen to him. In full disbelief and insisting they are about to defeat the German. Scofield pleads him to be read the letter, which he finally does, and he orders his men to stand down. Scofield goes to the medical tents looking for Black's brother. He eventually finds him, Richard Madden, unharmed. Scofield breaks the bad news to him about his brother and gives him some of his belongings that he took with him. Black is devastated, but pulls himself together and tells Scofield to get some food for himself, and he agrees. He tells Black that his brother saved his life. The two shake hands, and Scofield goes and finds a tree to sit under. He takes out a photo of his wife and of his children, look at them, then closes his eyes. 1917, during World War I. Corporals Scofield and Black. He takes out an incredibly dangerous mission. Crafts of previously German-held territory to get to the British, who are chasing after the retreated Germans, to tell them to call out their attack. It's a German trap and all of the soldiers, including Black brother, will die. The two make it far into their journey, but Black is killed by the downed German pilot. Scofield continues on, nearly dying multiple times, and is finally able to reach Colonel and give him to be message, and the attack is called off, saving over 1,000 lives. Scofield then goes and tells Lieutenant Black about his brother and then goes and rests under a tree. We like to make fun of the golden goals, with award given out by a voting body of around 19 people. It's easy to take short when it comes to his season, but one thing we can't dispute is award. Show can be a huge marketing tool, and that was evident this weekend with the 1917. Universal's World War, a drama from director Sam Bender that is told the title resembles the look of Hammy continued, shot in reality, earned a Globe, Best Motion Picture Drama, last Sunday, and had calculated it to the must-see status this weekend. The result 1917, they thrown Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker from the number one spot at the domestic box office with its estimated $36 million take. This movie and had been a limited release since Christmas to date 1917 has brought in its $60 million, building awareness as well as a SWAT season pass. But this weekend was a coming out party. Clearly, moviegoers wanted to catch a glimpse of the movie that bear out at the likes of the and Joker at the Golden Globe. Mendes all want the Best Director Globe. They also wanted to see for themselves how in the world Mendes and the movie's cinematographer Roger Deakins pulled off the one-shot look of the movie. We'll find out Monday morning how 1917 will be received by Academy voter as Oscar nominations are announced. But for now, you have to tip your hat to Universal for how it has released its latest original title. There is the under element of this book of win. Universal had cracked a code when it comes to getting top dollar out of its non-IP. But recently, Universal has been the king of finding those top spots where its original title can shine. And in the case of the 1917, with its Golden Globes night, that just the amplified things. Its $36 million check tops as early projection $20 million to $25 million. Disney Rise Plus Skywalker came in second place with $15 million. The movie global cum to the date is just under $1 billion, 1999, but Disney also had to deal with a dude this weekend too. The release of Fox's Underwater. The thriller starring Kristen Stewart only took in the $70 million on our 2017 screen. Reliance Entertainment and the Amblin partner War Drama 1917. Directed by Oscar-winning director Sam, has crossed over a whopping $200 million. Starting out at number 1, slot at the US box office in its wide opening weekend. The film, based on World War I, has now grossed over the $200 million worldwide in theatrical sales. 1970 has also been on the incredible award-winning spree beside 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and the Best Actor, at the forthcoming 92 Second Academy Award and 9 nominations for the BAFTA Award. The film has won 3 awards at the Critics' Choice Award 2020 for Best Director, Best Cinematographer, and Best Editing. It is also the 7 Golden Globes winner in the Best Picture Drama category and was feted with the Best Directors Award for Mendes. Adding to the accolade, Mendes won the Best Feature Film at Director Guild of America Award recently. The film also won Best Picture at the Producers Guild of America Award, and Roger Deakins won Top Feature Award from the American Society of Cinematographer for his spectacular work in 1917. Sandman's 1917 stamped at the global box office, generating a solid $56 million over the weekend. The war drama ignited to the $21 million overseas, which Universal and Amblin Entertainment are separating distribution. In the US, 1917. 1917 is set during the height of the First World War and unfolds in real time as 2 young British soldiers, portrayed by George Mackay and Dean Charles, are tasked with the seemingly impossible mission of delivering the message that will save the life of 1,600 men. The film took home to the Golden Globes Sunday, one for Best Picture Drama and another for Men's Direction. That publicity, combined with its Oscar prospectus, are no doubt giving 1917 a box office boost. The film cost $19 million and has pocketed $60 million so far. Another award favored Greta hitting the importantly milestone on the eve of the Academy Award nomination. Sony's acclaimed adaptations crossed the little coveted $100 million mark worldwide, with ticket sales currently sitting in $107 million. The movie added another $8.1 million at the international box office, boosting the foreign tally to the $33 million. Little Woman continues to overperform in the United Kingdom, where it has earned $17 million. Sony's The Next Level also reached a big benchmark, surpassing the $400 million abroad after collecting the $22 million. This weekend, the action sequences starring Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart has made $671 million globally. Meanwhile, Rise of Skywalker is gearing up to become the latest billion-dollar club member, since box office received reached $19 million this weekend. Directed by J.J. Abrams, the ninth and final chapter. The new drama 1917, which director Sam wrote based on his grandfather's stories about World War I, was not technically filmed in a single take. If you pay attention, you can see places where the film's fudges a little. But the film does a good exploration of that technique, which make it feel as if you are living in the event of movie in real time, and has been used in movies in the past. Most recently, in 2014, Best Picture winner The Batman in the case of 1917. The one-shot technique is used to tell a story about two young British privates, Mackey and Jean Charles, who are tasked by their General Cloenford with taking a message from their trenches and across the man's land to Colonel, who's leading his men into a giant trap. It's nearly impossible task, but they faithfully go for it, encountering all kinds of peril along the way with other soldiers, including Richard Madden, Mark Strong, and Andrew. It's the first film that experienced director Mendes, American Beauty, has also written, and I spoke with him by phone about why he decided to make the film seem as if it is one continuous shot, as well as the challenges of casting a movie like this. I wanted to tell this story in 2 hours of real time, so I felt like it was a natural thing to log the audiences into the man's experiences. In a movie that operates more like a ticking clock, thriller at time. I wanted an audiences to feel every second passing and take every step with them, and also be aware of geography and distance and physical difficulty. The feeling that you are going to have to live through the story with them is accentuated by not cutting. There are other movies that use the one shot idea. Many people know about Man or the Hitchcock movie Rob, but while watching 1917, I found myself thinking about books that followed characters through audio and real time, like Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway or James. The big difference is that those books follow one character, and then they pass another character on the street, and they start to follow their other character, more like Birdman. In 1917, you are sticking with just one or two characters the whole time. That make it especially challenging for you or the character. It's challenging to keep it from becoming repetitive, even as you say, it's sticking with one or two characters. Ultimately, the film is constantly shifting your relationship with them, and so the point of view is not always subjective. Sometimes you see them but don't see what they see. Sometimes you see what they see before we do. Sometimes it's very intimate and very subjective. Sometimes it's very objective and you see them quite small in a big landscape. So there is a dance between the camera and the characters and the landscape, all three of which are moving all the time. That language was something that Roger and I really worked hard to kind of develop. It's a wild paradox because on the one hand, we personally experience our lives as if you are in a one-shot movie. On the other hand, that's the and perspective are not what movie have taught us to expect. No, but you have to ask yourself why the grammar of film has developed the way it has, and it is an interesting question. We experience this life much closer to one longer continuous shot, so we might expect the grammar of film to be the same. But the grammar of film was developed because camera were not able to do what human being can. They were too big. They were too bulky. They only shot on film. You had to cut at a certain point. That's no longer the case. So there is a way of the communication now, which is not using the traditional tool. The traditional grammar of cinema that developed the last 100 years. 1917 is not shot in a way that's designed to draw attention to itself. I don't really want people to think about it camera. You are aware of it for first 10 minutes. Then hopefully therefore after you forget about it and you just watch the story. There's also all these short appearance by a famous actor, playing figure who in some cases would be kind of the celebrities to the young soldier. Captions, captains and the commanders, how did you go about casting for those roles? Because who I thought were the best people for the role. Rather than the thinking, well, I need some famous actor. Of course, you are not unaware that you are making a fairly large movie, and you wanted people to come and see it, and that does not hurt. But you wanted people with the natural instant authority. Colin Firth or Benedict Cumberbatch or Andrew Scott. They have the skill to be able to impose themselves upon the scene almost instantly and hit the ground running. I was also trying to get a feeling out to a relatively ordinary soldier. Interesting with these lives they are grounded in there, in a way, but have a higher status. So that was how I decided to do it. I talked to the more famous actor about the project as a whole. What the overall goal of the film was, instead of the individual role. I think some of those guys are relieved to not carry the burden of the whole film for a change, to play a supporting role, and to be into something that they believe in. But you don't have to take full responsibility for or spend any time marketing it. And once you pursued one heavyweight, like a Colin Ford to do it, then you could call Benedict and say, Colin was doing one of these characters, and then you get both of them. It becomes easier and easier as you get further along. So it takes one person to say yes, and then you have a kind of domino effect. We could not do anything until we had rehearsed, because we had to measure the distance that every scene took. We had to measure the journey, so we could not build a trench until we would walk the distance that the trench needed to be, and then apply the same rule to the no man, land, and the quarries, and the field, and the orchard, and farmhouses, and canal, and John at night. All of them could not be built or even conceived until we know how long they should be. And we did not know how long they should be until we would acted it. So we started the process by rehearsing in empty field, holding script and marking out the journey with the flag and pole. And only then we are able to actually move forward. So we were rehearsing the format off and on. But really what we were doing it including the actor in what would be the normal production process. For 6 or 8 months, we had them there from day one. That frankly is a luxury not normally afforded because actors are busy. But I made sure that when I afford those to had the role, they understood it was a long job and that they had to be there as part of dream from the very beginning of the production. So that's how we did it. On the other hand, the landscape of the film was constantly moving atmosphere, light condition and the relationship between the camera and the actor was constantly changing in a way that it does not on stage. In theater, the relationship between the viewer and the people being looked at is pretty consistent, whereas here it was changing all the time. So in another way, it was just the opposite of the theater experiences, and very cinematic. This film was a wide mixture of the two. But when nomination 1917 did not receive his best film editing, you may think recognition in that category does not track with a film represented entirely in a single shot. But in truth, a lot of editing had to take place to make the film feel seamless, including the one aspect cut in the middle of the film. When George Mesky Schofield confronted the German soldier hiding inside the building about halfway through the film, he gets knocked out cold by the bullet. The screen goes black, and suddenly this one-shot experience stops in its track. It kicks up again when Schofield regains consciousness. As you can see, our one-shot presentation is to put his the shows of Schofield. So when he is unconscious, so are we. But it's a whole boat twist in the middle of the movie. So when I recently got a chance to speak the film, now Oscar-nominated co-writer Grace Lee Wilson, I asked her about his decision to make a cut in the middle of the movie. She says that it upon the idea early in the writing stage. That was on the page, that was always the plan. The idea after he gets shot in the head when it pings off his helmet. He wakes up in a saint man, everything after that. Even there is no little dialogue in all those sections is the thing I am most proud of this script. And the things I am most proud of in the finished film because it's his cinematography sound, it's his score, it's the lighting design, it's the set design. Everything worked together with acting and the directing to let you the audiences understand our character's inner feeling without him overacting them. You understand that the whole world is being spun on this head of this Scofield, but he wakes up, he is not even sure who he is. Where he is does not know if he is alive or dead. He literally walks through that dawn and is a hell space. The church is burning this basement with these young women in a building that has no name. Wilson Cairns says everything after this speak cut takes on a more mythic quality as the dialogue resets. We wanted you to really feel almost like it in the second half of the film. And also, as you are the audiences, we have told you one rule. We are never going to cut, we are never going to cut. And so you know the gloves are off and anything can happen. He might not make it. The screenwriter says that he really wanted to drill down into the audiences. That feeling that Scofield not only might not get his message to the troops in time, but that he himself might be before he gets there. That was thing is you really want the audiences to believe that he might not make it. And in a way he does not make it. He in charm it does not save the first wave of men. And so all of that was sort of in services of the story. Everything was done to tell the story, to make the audiences feel like. When he called out of that driver and he cries on the ground, you need to feel like absolutely drained as well. You feel like I can't go on then he hear that music and he leads him up the hill. That was the plan always with that part was just to, from a story point of view. To everyone and raise the stake. I never plan wasn't the script. It should have the feeling of reality. It should have the stake of reality, but the feeling of a dream. Indeed, the rest of the film after the cat feels almost dreamlike and no doubt takes same cues from. But it worked beautifully as a whole with the entire plus. For more on 1917, check out what Wilson Cairns told me about the crafting the film's ending and click for our full episode. The New World War I drama from director Sam 1917 unfolds real time, tracking a pair of British soldiers as they cross the Western Front on a desperate rescue mission. Seemingly filmed in one constituent take, the 117 minutes epic has garnered accolade for its cinematography. Although the movie's plot is evocating our soldier central long journey to perilous. That's Ron landscape right told MC Carty for the Hollywood Reporter. Its tone is closer to the genre cake, which also relied on a non-linear narrative structure to build a sense of the urgency. The film bears witness to this staggering destruction brought by the war, and yet it is a fundamentally human story about a young and inexperienced soldier racing against the clock. Mendes tells a Vanity Fair, and Tony so it adheres more to be form of a thriller than a conventional war movie. Plot-wise, 1917 follows two fictional British lands corporals tasked stopping a battalion of some 1,600 men from walking into a German ambush. One of the men, Black Jean Charles Champion, best known for playing Tom Batten in Game of Thrones, has a personal stake in the mission. His older brother, a lieutenant portrayed by fellow Game of Thrones. Alumin's Richard is among the soldiers slated to fall victim to the German trap. If you feel a general warned in the movie's trailer, it will be a massacre. While Black and his brother in arms scaffold are imaginary mentis grounded, his vast story in truth. From the stark realities of trench warfare to the conflict effect on his civilian and the state of the war is spring 1917. Here's what you need to know to separate fact from fiction ahead of the movie's opening on Christmas Day. As Mendes explained earlier his year, he drew inspiration from a tale shared by his paternal grandfather, Arthur and World War I. Veteran Alfred Mendes, in an interview with the Variety, Mendes said he had a faint memory from childhood of his grandfather telling a story about a messenger who has a message to carry. The director added, and that's all I can say. It lodged with me as a child. This story or this fragment, and obviously I have enlarged it and changed it significantly. Set in the northern France around spring 1917, the film takes place during what Doran called senior curator at the National World War I Museum and Memorial, described as a very flawed period of the war. Although the Allied and the Central Power here were ironically stuck in a stalemate on Western Front, engaging in a brutal trench warfare without making the substantive gain. The conflict was on the brink of the changing course in Eastern Europe. Meanwhile, rumbling of revolution of the stage for Russia impending withdrawal from the conflict. Back in the Germany, Kaiser resumed the unrestricted submarine warfare, a decision that spurred the United States to join the fight in April 1917. Along the Western Front between the February and the April 1917, the Germans considered their forces by pulling their forces back to the line, a newly built and massively fortified defensive network according to Mendes. Germany's withdrawal was a strategic decision, not an explicit retreat, says Scott. Instead, as they were consulting their forces in preparation for potential further offensive operation, most prominently Operations Michael's Asseping 1918 campaign that found the Germans breaking through British line and advancing further to the west. They had been almost since 1914. The Allies, meanwhile, they only broke through the Hamburg's line on September 19 to 1918. Mendes focuses his films around the ensuing confusion. Ours seemed to be the British to be a German retreat, operating under the mistaken assumption that the enemy is fleeing and thereafter at a disadvantage the factional colonel MC Canesi, prepared to lead his regiment in pursuit of the scattered German forces. There was a period of the terrified uncertainty. Had the surrender withdrawn or waited lying in wait? The director said to Vanity Fair. In truth, according to Gart, the Germans never said they were retreating, that they were simply moving to better defensive position, shortening the front by 25 miles and freeing 13 divisions of the reassignment. Much of the preparation for the withdrawal took place under cover of darkness, preventing the Allies from fully grasping their enemy's plan and allowing the Germans to move their troops largely unhindered. British and the French forces, surprised by the shift, found themselves facing a desolate landscape of destruction dotted with the bomb, trap, and sniper. Amid great uncertainty, they moved forward. Koch, in the movie series provide 1917 commanding officer. The story of a messenger recalled by the younger Mendes echoes the account of the Battle of the told in his grandfather's on the morning of October 12, 1917. Alfred's company commander, should the enemy counter-attack, go forward to meet him with with dispatch date, reporting 4 companies urgently needed. Despite the fact that he had little relevant experiences aside from a single signaling course, Alfredi volunteered to track down A, B, and D companies, all of which had lost contact with his own C company, aware of the high likelihood that he would never return. Alfredi ventured out. The sniper scout went after me, and the individual bowlers were soon seeking out, wrote Alfred, until I came to the confronting conclusion they were also nonplussed at seeing a lone man wandering in the circle about no man's land, as might at him have been the case, that they decided, out of perhaps a secret admiration for my to dispatch their bowler's safety out of my way, or he theorized they may have thought me plan crazy. Alfred managed to locate all 3 missing company. He spent 2 days carrying messages back and forth before returning to C Company Shell Hole. Without a crash, but certainly with a series of hair-raising experiences and great grandchildren interhalted for night on end. Attempt to encapsulate the experiences award about in review of 1917. Various ideas mud, rats the king horses, corpses might in the interminable mazes of the barbed wire, right JD's making of military term. The Guardian's Patcher Bradshaw echoes this sentiment, describing the black and the Scofield travels through a post-apocalyptic landscape, a bad dream of broken tree at stump. Mud legs left by shell crater, that body's rat. Times Carol Wick, meanwhile, likened the film setting to Bushaliska. These descriptions mirrored those shared by the man who actually fought in World War I, including the Alfred Mendes, remembering his time in the Ypres Salient, where the Battle of Rheims took place. Alfred deemed the area a marsh of mud and killer of men. Seeping groundwater exacerbated by the unusually heavy rainfall made it difficult for the Allies to construct proper trenches so soldiers sought shelter in waterlogged shell holes. It was a case of talking them or leaving them, said Alfred, and leaving them meant a front of suicide. According to Carr, leaving one's trench, the gauge or line was a risky endeavor. It was pretty much instant death, he explained, citing the threat posed by the artillery, brakes, sniper, booby traps, poison gas, and tripwire. Black and Scofield faced many of these dangers, as well as more unexpected ones. The toll exhausted by the conflict is not simply told through the duos encounters with the enemy. Instead, it is written into the very fabric of the movie's landscape. From the carcasses of the livestock and cattle caught in the war's crosshair to the rolling Bill Hill comprised of dirt and corpses, and countryside dotted with the bombed village. 1917's goal, says producer Viper Harris, in a behind the scenes featurette, is to make you feel that you are in the trenches with his character. The kind of interrealized military action, according to Guard, but more of the exception, in large part because of the risk associated with such small scale mission. Trench network were incredibly complex. Silkord does not completely rule out the possibility that a mission comparable to Black and Scofield occurred during the war. He explained it is really hard to say what kind of the individual action occurred without really looking at the circumstances that the personnel might have been in. As Mandis became to Chambal war to command a bigger cultural shadow than its predecessor or trend apparent in the abundance. Hollywood hits focused on the conflict, including the year midway. The HBO miniseries Band of Brothers and the Steven Spielberg classic Saving Private Ryan. They so-called Great War. Meanwhile, it's perhaps best immortalized in All Quiet on the Western Front, an adaptation of the German novel of the same name released 19 years ago. The First World War started with literally horses and carriage, and it ends with the tanks. Says Mendes, so it's the moment where you could argue modern war began. The movie 1917 is a success by any measure, on a budget of about $100 million. It has a gross $368 million worldwide and was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, winning one for cinematography. Director Sam Mendes set out to tell a story he had from his grandfather of a daring suicide mission in World War I, and that story in its cinematic form clearly resonated with the viewer. Not so much with the critics, at least a good number of the highbrow kind. A few characteristic examples to follow. The verse called in 1917 a brag trick, summarizing the views for many viewers who focus almost exclusively on one-shot cinematography. The New Yorker characterized the film as one of the patriotic bombast. The Atlantic spoke more plainly still. 1917 is a bad movie and a soulless film, no menacing of word. These other reviews argue much the same. But it's a trick, bombast, bad, and the souls. Alfred Hitchcock once said that his films were like a slice of cake, a delicious treat without any real nutrients in them. In 1917, mere frosting and butter, as many critics have it. Mendes has certainly made his mark as a big budget director. He is an accomplished craftsman of the kind, adapt and entertainment, but again, is that all 1917 is a cute ode to no outmoded hero quest. Here is my own review. 1917 is the most profane major market film to release in a very long time. The movie is at base a staring philosophical meditation on the meaning of life. It is an aesthetic inquiry into the good, beautiful, and true. Yes, that sounds like the cake has been baked at a high temperature. I admit in what follow, I who earn no money doing for criticism, and justly so. We lay out in case of this view of Mendes film, featuring a screenplay of the compressed eloquence by Christie. My thesis can be boiled down to three simple words. 1970 is a film about trees. It began with a scoffer resting against a tree, and it ends with him resting against a tree. As quoted above, Mendes gives us the clue to his films about 30 minutes in. Keep your eyes on trees is not a throwaway line. However, as Scofield says, it's a lone tree stand tall in the background. We are not learning through his amenity miserable clue. I read many reviews of 1917 and found this quick sentence isn't fit that the very message of the film. Throughout the movie, where tree flourished, there is a rest conversely when tree have been hacked and hand to evil end. There is a ruin and pain in a manner conceit with the lush aborty represented by La Almosit in the design. J.R.R. Tolkien in literature and Terrence Malick in outer cinema. Mendes are telling us something vital. I mean vital in the deep sense, not the curiousy. Bearing fruit trees manifest life from the Latin Vitals 14th century. To celebrate and enjoy tree is thus to partake deeply of what we Christians call common grace in this world, even a fallen word like our. But using tree as implemented of our speak to our worldview that these arises are created order and the goodness it is bear. Nature rewarded in the celebration of its life yield still more goodness, while nature submitted to the purpose of needleness. Destruction makes creation nothing less than a witness to hell. Nowhere is this tension brought out in the creator, nor seen in the cherry scene. About 38 minutes in Schofield happened upon a grove of diamond says. There are chopped them all down in a midst of the fortunes war. He stopped go to the observe the fact of the savagery. The governments have also shot cow and a dog. Innocent creatures unjustly handled. Blake John notes what kind of trees they are, carries Lambert. The next bite of the dialogue is necessary to understand the thesis of the film. Schofield does not know anything about trees, like we are all do. He beholds spectacular and detailed beauty on a regular basis, but takes no notice of it. Like a sensitive soul, notes that people think there is only one job. Of charity, but there is a loss of them. Listing Cureber's Queen Anne's Blake is a witness here to be aforementioned limitless variety of the creation. I think that Blake may represent the romantic poet William Blake, a figure who had a strange interaction with a soldier named Scofield in 1803. Blake, the character, is a certainly romantic in nature. He has a full-orbed emotional life and is aesthetically inclined. Blake is the character who opens not only scaffold eye but over where we like Scofield see a tree. Blake sees a cherry tree. But more than this is know that there are many kinds of cherry trees and their variations yield merit, colors and textures and taster. It is at this point that we arrive at tremendous measure philosophical idea. Enlightened by Blake's knowledge of tree, knowledge gleaned not from textbook but from the gems of a happy family. Scofield expresses sadness about the discretion of his holy glove. In his optimistic way, Black responds, they will grow again when the stones are not. You will end up with more trees than before. Forgive me once more, but it's of nary a critic's mention these sentences in numerous anarchy. Madness is a trick short director review. I believe this is particular comment from Black spell out his case that 1917's cruelty but perceivably makes. Man does terrible thing to man and to creation beside. But even with the evil loose in the world bringing disparate suffering to living thing, beauty will win in the end. The glad is cut flower, civilization in the miniature. But the trees have loved and will grow again. This is too weak. Actually, a Tachari said, sown will rot, but will grow back as tree in greater number than before. Black says, the death of the grove means the flowering of a much greater forest. Transposed in the theological term, evil is not only overcome, evil's purpose are turned on its head, and goodness expanded in ironic fashion because of evil destructive scheme. We shall return to this sorting. I want to move ahead in the narrative, skipping much a good cover. Mendes returned to the theme of the rebuilding in the ruins in the very French town occupied by the German soldier. After being shot and narrowly escaping death several times, and offer one of the most stunning visual images I have yet seen in a film. In film that is about horrifying, Schofield crashes into a basement dwelling. There he encounters a young woman who is keeping a baby alive. Schofield initially is barely able to respond to despair as he is badly hurt. The young woman moves gracefully toward him and treats his head when wound his a gentle feminine touch. She cares for him. The village come home to patchwork family. For his part, Schofield emerges his shock and hysterically gives his canteen of milk to the woman, who gives it to the child. He then warms up further still, engaging the baby and making her laugh. The young woman sends perspective in his father, as indeed he is we are learned later. I figure that Mandis is communicating something meaningful in this scene. In the ruins, in the surprising circumstances, the family is a rebuild. Here is a renewal that the world truly needs, not just the planting of tree, but a recovery of the marriage, the union of one woman and one woman, and the welcoming of the children as a gift, not a curse. It seems that the motive of trees from the beginning and motive of 1917 and his family scene represent the inclusive, the main point backtracked by its complementary idea. The family scene is in other word, the human expression of the cherry tree scene. Here is replanting that the world truly need. It needs man and a woman, husbands and wives, children loved and cared for, the family restored amid this much attack. Mandarin seems to be decommunicating that this creation order has suffered violence. But as civilization can know healing, it will come to a renewal of the family. To whatever degree they believe in the natural family, a far better term than our dreaded nuclear family. Mandis and the vision careness have landed on a foundational element of society. We are not born in the isolation, we are born into family. At least in God's design, the family is the first institution, grounded in the covenantal marriage that is picture of the gospel level of the Christ for his church. Even in the condition of the ferocious battle, the family endures. This short scene, generally mentioned as on auditory by many reviewers, speak to the profound truth civilization began with a family. 1917 brings its celebrations of a life to muted peak and its final scene. Schofield, having lost Black Joe and adjusted, some hour back, meet Black struggle to speak to one another. But even as he delivers terrible services, Schofield hands over some small effect of Black. This quick action, easily overlooked, is actually a crucial development of Schofield's character. Earlier in the movie, Schofield thrived in the middle of an earned prior conflict for heroism. Just before the cherry tree scene, he tells Black that he traded his medal for a bottle of wine. This got Black's blood up. You should have taken it home, he protests. You should have given it to your family. Men have died for that. If I got a medal, I would take it back home. Schofield spat back up at Black. It's just a bite of tin. He says it does not make money difference to anyone, but Black just before that rises again to the challenge. Yet it does. And it's not just a bite of tin, and it's got a ribbon on it. This early scene anticipates the film's last scene. At that point, walking into the cut flower grove, Schofield is battle hardened. He has lost touch with the good, true, and beautiful. He is by no means evil as the enemy is, but he is no longer able to be a witness to the deep value of life. He is simply surviving, but Blake is still alive. Fully alive, he sees that his medal is not just written. It speaks to the ideal that drive one to risk anything for the sake of the innocent and the threatened. Notably, in this earlier scene, Black sees the medal as valuable in their relation to family. He adores his family, making it all the more poignant that we must meet his brother in the closing. Valor in battle confers meaning on all the sacrifices made by both soldier and loved ones. War is terrible, but man give everything that he have in order to love and protect those who are also sacrificing much at home. Who will be justified proud of very heroism? That in itself is not about anything great, but the medals symbolically capture all the hardship, coverage, and specifiers made by this soldier. and civilization for a greater good. It simultaneously has no real value and more value than what can convey. In the end, change is all that is left in the earthly term, but is a fact. Small and insignificant speak to the value of an entire existence. They tell us who this man was, black, a villain, soldier one so merciful that he died trying to help our foe. A young man whose days on earth mattered. Every life mattered. Every person has value, dignity, and what? Here I think we beheld a glimpse of the decked ruin of the image of God in his cinematic expression. As mentioned above, the film closes with a scaffold resting against a tree for the first time. He lets himself look at picture of his beautiful young wife and children. He alluded to his family in the bite of rain, but got choked up before he could say more. I hated going home when I knew I had to leave, and he might never say. At the end, this is line Schofield voice trailer of the pain is too great for him, so he goes silent. Here is his mentality early 1917, better to survive than despair. In light of this resolution, we discover that 1917 is not only a quest in the classic sense, a man going on a grand adventure. It is that, but is much more. Schofield himself has gone on a personal quest. Yes, but has been changed by his personal odyssey. He is not the same man. He understands afresh just how much life matters. He felt this in a terrible way when Black bled out on the ground. He felt this like an electric current as he ran to stop the doomed assault. He felt it when he handed over all that was left of a noble life. He feels it as he leans against a tree at a film's end, looking over his picture of his family. He has awakened once more to the goodness of the world, the survivor of almost impossible difficulty. Schofield is effectively brought back to full-fledged humanity by Black. He is, you could say, re-enchanted. Mendes has signaled such a trajectory already. Recall, recall what happened in the German barracks scene. After a terrific explosion, knocked me out of my Amex seat. Schofield would certainly have that, and Black not pulled him out of the rubble. In the end, Black with the young woman and baby and the singer in the wooded glade has pulled Schofield out of spiritual ruin as well. That Black spiritual and virtuous example has helped bring Schofield back from a kind of living death. Nearly dehumanized by war, Schofield of bequest has revealed that the world is not a machine. Existence is not merely a test of survival. The created order is not intended for consumption, least of all mindless destruction. Evil is everywhere, but the cherry trees representing civilization will grow back and in greater number. Goodness, truth, and beauty are all around us and will be found in greater measure in the age of come. It may well be that this commitment reflect for Mendes not a Christian's worldview, but a romantic worldview. Yet as I surface this possibility, I cannot help but think of two intertwined and concluding event. First, after surviving a terrible assault and a rushing driver, Schofield is nearly dead. As Anne Phillips pointed out to be me, cherry blossoms then fall on him and seem to revive him, enabling him to crawl over a corpses and survive a fulfillment of Black's word as a cherry tree. Second, as Schofield stages toward a battlefield. 1917 is now in the cinema, meaning audiences can see just why the word war epic is up for so many awards. The tense and powerful movie follows two British soldiers who are sent on an impossible mission into one man, land, and enemy territory, all to deliver a message that will stop an ill-fated attack from happening. However, it does not mean that the ending is not worth talking about, and this film finalizes on a beautiful somber. Throughout this, we are gonna be breaking down the journey that the character in the film go on as well as in real life event that inspired the movie. There will be heavy spoilers here, so you have not had a chance to see 1917 yet and don't want to know what happened, then I highly suggest that you turn off now. 1917 is filmed as one continuous shot. The camera does not cut away at any point. There is no mid-scene scene changes, no diverting from what's happening on screen, and because of this, the film feels relentlessly. Shooting an entire movie in this style is an extremely difficult task, but director Sam Mendes purposely put this in place that is necessary for the film overall message. There are no real breaks in war, no real moment of respite, no moment to mourn or take in what is really going on and what you have sacrificed in order to fight for queen and country. One moment you will be clasping at your friend as they pass away, and the next you will be sad listening to a song sung by a soldier. You don't really have a chance to take it on, truly comprehend what is happening. Every single second could be your last, whatever you know it or not, and because of this, it helps to not only engage with the journey early on but also be invested in it as takes its course throughout the almost 2 hour runtime. We open on a shot of a field that is almost instantly just exposed by two soldiers. Perfectly, it set up the film in which we see our central character go on a journey to a hell. Under orders the act cross into former German territory to deliver a message to Colonel, a soldier that is currently chasing after the retreating German forces. This is a trap. The Germans are willingly withdrawing in order to lure the British army into a situation where they can be ambushed and wind up. The two have been chosen because Black's brother is in the British bridge are about to be slaughtered and they set out immediately. The movie itself is actually based on the true story of the director grandfather's Alfred Mendes, who served in the British Army during the war. Mendes told stories by his granddad of what it was like to be in the conflict and found this movie together. My own grandfather was a sergeant major during the war, and often my grandmother would recount to me tales of his bravery and also the horror that he faced looking at that every day. Manny's grandfather was awarded a medal for bravery after he was tasked with a mission to locate injured soldier in no man's land. George M. Mackey, who stars as the film's main lead, also related heavily to the film as his great uncle's Albert Victor. Bullock also tasked with a similar mission to what we say out. Bullock was a signal of the 1960s Sikh battery in France and he had to relay important message across land as we see Mackey character to do in the film. Stories like this that grant the film with a feeling of authenticity, and you can see the personal tale shape the effect of the movie, grounding them massively. As Black and the Scofield make their way across the landscape, there is a huge range of emotion portrayed in just a few minutes. 1 second they are gingerly approaching what may or may not be an abandoned outpost. The next they are laughing about life in the trenches or before the climax. In the death of the Black, who is murdered by a German pilot that the crash launched still close to them. Black let out and Scofield promises him that he will write to his mother and say that he was not scared. The worst thing that could happen on the mission has really exemplifies this tough upper lip that British the stereotype as having and portrays how when things are at their lowest. We often don't have time to even accept that they are and we must keep moving. Scofield himself is not really even happy that he is a soldier. He takes no joy in war, and even he confessed to Black that a prayer medal he received ended up exchanging for one. He just does not want to remember to mind any of this part he's stuck in this impossible situation, doing the best that he can. There are dark humor moments, such as when he accidentally puts his hand in the corpse on the battlefield, and a real feeling of kinship. But ultimately, every soldier in this war wants to get home, get away from it and be back with the ones that they love. This is exemplified early on in the introduction of the movie when Black says he hoped to be home before Christmas and is solidified where the real sons of duty for this man lay. They are fighting in order to protect the ones that they loved back home, fighting in these hellscope in order to that he once they cared about did not have the experiences they did. Scofield continued to make the journey himself, jogging gunfire, watching drones burn to the ground, and eventually he comes across a French woman named Laurie and the baby. Then he is wound, but in this retrospect, this setup is similar to the one that Scofield left behind. The film's end with the character looking at a photo of his wife and children and seeing this first and really back up and clear point that three men are fighting so that women and children would not have to go through the horror of war firsthand. One shot takes even leave you feeling like you don't have a moment to catch your breath and seeing the character go through this is one of the most impactful moments of the film. Schofield arrived too late and the battle began with the first wave being sent out. The trenches, however, are full and thus in order to stop the rest of the waves going out. Schofield takes a shortcut by running sideways across the battlefield. It's an insane moment that is incredible to see play out on the big screen. Finally, he reaches the colonel played by the bandit who, after reading the letter, orders his men to stand down, looking for black sputter. Schofield goes to the medical tent and comes face to face with the black sputter played by the Richard Madden. Schofield tells him to his sibling, Fred, and gives him some of the belongings that he took from the opponent's death. Black is naturally wrapped about by the news. It's a crushing blow to him, but as is discussed, where this is no real time to mourn here and he pulls himself together. Almost instantly, all of the men who fought in the war has been forever changed by the event that he saw. The journey that he went through, thought, and Jay may have made it through the war. The ending does not matter. This took away their humanity, but it does not mean that they have lost it forever. The films end with Scofield and Black shaking hand in what is the World War I equivalent of an emotional hug. Scofield promises to write to Black's mother and go to site under a tree. Similar to how we first met him in the opening, however, this time he is without Black. He is a man who has had a friend torn away from him because of the journey that we have seen him go through. He pulls out a photo of his wife and children and look at them, reminding himself of what he has waiting for him when he gets home, the hope that if he make it out of this war, he may get to see them again. Every day he is fighting to go make it just one more. He will likely go through more journeys similar to this, face that every day but with one day. It will end and he will be reunited with the family that he is fighting to protect. Every moment that he has been gone through, every agonizing first step that he has taken forward has been in order to get this one solitary second in which he can remind himself of his family. He turns over a photo that say, "Come back to us," and he does close his eyes, which ends the film. 1970 is not only a technical masterpiece, but a masterpiece of storytelling as well. Sam Mendes' 1917 has a relatively straightforward story of Parmasha's runtime, but the ending of the film is more complex than some might think. Mendes' film is an immersive, thrilling war epic. When 1917 single take filmmaking style, drawing odysseys into the film on a deeper level. After the film looked like an on one take, 1917 secret scars are expertly hidden. This style of production saw the war movie quickly become an award favorite as in 1970's fantastic ensembles cast. 1970s follows two British soldiers, Lance Corporal Will Scofield and John Black, who are tasked with delivering a message to the 2nd Battalion of the Devonshire Regiment. They need to tell Bandit Cumberbatch Colonel to call off a planned attack. The Germans did not flee as believed but rather made a tactical retreat, lying in wait to ambush the British troops. Inspired by a true story, 1970s, recent online streaming success has brought attention to its ending, a climactic and emotional climax that is packed with deeper, hidden meaning and its themes. In the final act of 1970s, Schofield is shown escaping German pursuit to a bombed village after finding a young French woman and a small child hiding amid the. Eventually, he finds the second Devon in a nearby forest where a member of the battalion is singing a song as they prepare to march into the battle. Schofield races his way through the ranks of soldiers, pushing and showing through the trenches. When 1976 cars being perfectly employed throughout he tasks several soldiers, where he can find colonel, so which they can keep pointing him further and further down and the trench line. As the attack commences, Schofield realizes he must leave the relative safety of trenches and his parent across the battlefield in order to have any chance of finding McNeese in time. He eventually does so and hands the handwritten order to call out the attack. After things settle down, Schofield is determined to find Black's brother Joseph to make sure that he is able to halt the attack before Joseph enters the battlefield. Schofield eventually finds him, who listens in horror as he learns his brother has died. Schofield gives Josh some of Black's personal items, including rings and a dog tag, then asks him to write to his mother informing her that Black died a hero. 1917 ends with a final shot of Schofield sitting in a grassy field in a parallel shot to the film's opening. One of the most surprising elements in 1970s ending is revealed as Schofield retires after speaking the jokes. The final scene sees Schofield taking a photo of a woman and children out of his uniform, accompanied by a note reading, "Come back to us." This scene reveals that Schofield has a family back home, something that Mendes chose not to reveal to the audiences until the final moment of the 1970s. Although this ends the film's on emotional note, it also provides a context for several key moments throughout the film, rendering the Schofield characters are complete. In an earlier scene, Schofield and Black discuss their recent life. In one of the few moments of emotional clarity from Schofield, he mentioned that he hated his life because he would eventually have to return to the battlefield and put his life in danger once more. This moment is made much more complex upon the reveal of Schofield's family. The concept of Schofield hating his time at home becomes more poignant when Onassis realizes he should be enjoying his time with them. But he could only think about what would happen when he returned to the front line. Another key moment in 1917 that is changed in hindsight after he revealed of Schofield's family is the sequences in Sandman in a destroyed French town. The deep emotions, grief, and the turmoil Schofield feels upon having to leave the woman and her child is made much more affecting and simply make more sense after revealed that Schofield has children back home. This sense is entirely with the added knowledge that Schofield has children of his own. The deep emotions, grief, and turmoil Schofield feels upon having to leave the woman and her child is made much more affecting and simply makes more sense. After he revealed that Schofield has children back home, Schofield's paternal instinct make him want to help this woman and child, but he has to keep going or else many more people will die. The scene is layered with the subtle linking to the final reveal of 1970s ending and played to perfect by the cast member George McC. Perhaps most importantly, the reveal of Schofield's family heightens the overall stake of 1970s Central Mission. Viewers understand the Black's motivation from 1970s outset. He wants to save his brother and will stop at nothing to do so. Schofield seems more hesitant throughout, and after he realized due to the typewriter in German bunker, he wants to turn back, knowing he had a family back home. This makes much more sense. However, when Black dies, the mission becomes more important to Schofield on a personal level. The opening 1970s shows Schofield resting against a tree before being awoken by Blacks who receives the film's central mission. After the harrowing quest, 1917 ends with a direct parallel, showing Schofield leaning back against a tree to look at his family photo. In 1970s, trees are an important symbol as they only appear at moment of peace. The opening scene reflects this as the character as blissfully unaware of their mission. Shortly before the climax, a group of the soldiers are shown scattered among a tree legend field. listening to a comrade sing 1970s wayfaring stranger song. Finally, the final scene feature a similar shot of Schofield against the tree. Once the attack is called off and hundreds of lives have been saved. Besides these instance, 1917 mostly showcases the tragic environment of war-torn France, from the endless trenches to the desolate village. Interestingly, trees are also discussed in a conversation between Black and Schofield early in other journey. The soldier passes a field of burned out cherry trees, and Schofield laments their destruction. However, Black explains that they will eventually grow back more numerous than they are before. The trees could be a metaphor for the endurance of life amid the harshness of war. Schofield wants peace but understand he needs to complete a mission first to make sure there is something to live for after it is over. War may be the unflinchingly grim, but is the fire to create a brighter future. Finally, the first and final shot of 1917's being the same could serve as a commentary on the pointlessness of war at the end of 1970s. Scofield is left in the exact same place he found himself in the beginning of the movie. Despite this, he has undertaken a journey filled with death, destruction, and heroism, all in the name of war he did not ever wish to fight in. In an interview with the Colliders shortly after 1970's release, co-writer Christy Wilson Guerras explained some of the choices in the final moment of the film. From how to final shot of 1970s reflect the opening of the Scofield character arc 1970s. Ending was incredibly important to the screenwriter in conveying a lot of film's themes and deeper meaning. When asked why he revealed of Scofield family was left until the final second, Wilson Kirk status. He spent at least 6 months with Black, so he's not going to wake up in the morning next to Blake in this first scene and go, "Oh, I'm missing my wife and child, my children," because that's not how people speak. It's just not a clarity, not how he will behave. As evidenced by Wilson Cairns' moment. The choice to leave Scofield family until the end of the film links purely to realism. In the midst of war, which soldier Scofield has spent many months of years with, it's unlikely to come up in conversation. Another element Wilson's careless comment on was Scofield's character arc. The writer of 1970s noted that at the beginning of the film, Scofield is unfazed by the horror of war. There are no man's land sequences and Black looking at the surrounding scene. From dead horses and the soldier to the feasting crows and red. Scofield, on the other hand, is scanning the horizon, focusing on his mission. Wilson Cairns' mission, these choices, was made to show how shut out from the world Scofield has become. In contrast to where he is 1970s ending, where he is more like Black. Black becomes a part of him. So when he goes through all the second half of the film, he is more like Black than ever before. He takes chances in run. He does everything he can because he has made his promise to his dying friend. And so we wanted that last scene of the film to really get that he is just a teeny bit more like Black there. After he is still back against the tree, he is not a changed man. Our tragic behind the scene fact about 1917 links to the timeline of World War I. The film takes place on April 6, 1917, ending the day later with the Scofield retiring in the field. While the final scene of the film has some hopeful themes and a message, the real-world timeline of the war raises a heartbreaking fact of realism of Scofield. World War I did not end until November 1918, our achievement after Scofield's mission. This brings to light the horrid reality that Scofield will inevitably descend on another mission, one potentially more dangerous than the last. Although the mission that was completed in 1970's ending was a personal victory for Scofield, the war around him breaks him, and the tragedies of fighting in such a conflict are far from over. This is signified by the first and final shot of 1917, adding another layer to the depth. As alluded to, Scofield is back in the same position he was at the beginning of the film. waiting in a fleeting moment of peace until he is immediately called up for another task. 1917 is an uncommonly tense, breathtaking film that ultimately hangs on one goal to call off one attack, one day, that will save 96,100 lives. There is a major moment of relief when Colonel listened to the order, ultimately halting the attack before any major casualties happen. But before Scofield and McNeese part ways, Colonel says that while this ambush will be avoided, we will likely get orders in a week to attack again. While this mission may have been a success, it is likely that the peace will only be temporary. 1970's story may have been one of the victory, but the war is far from over. There was an estimated 9 million dead among soldiers throughout the war, and while saving 1600 lives is no small feat, it pales in the grand scheme for pointless war. Mandis and the cinematographer Roger Deacon do a fantastic job of making everything seem so urgent in this one mission, and it certainly was. At the time, but through MC Cannes' component, it's clear how many more people were affected by this conflict, and how every one of the 9 million lives lost at a story just like this. This is fresh air after winning 3 Golden Globes for Best Motion Picture Drama and Best Director. The new war movie 1970s opened wide this past weekend to a strong box office, and on Monday it received an Oscar nomination set over 2 days during World War I. The movie follows 2 English soldiers trying to stop on impending attack and save the lives of their comrade. Film critic Justin Chang has this review. Justin Chang believed 1917 has been widely praised as mind-boggling technical achievement. It certainly is. I am convinced that it's a great movie, inspired by his grandfather's experience as a soldier in World War I. The writer director Sam Mendes has a made harrowing combat picture by way of a suspenseful, beauty clock thriller about 2 British soldiers on a dangerous mission in northern France in April 1917. And he has shot the movie in what looks like one long continuous take with no visible edit except for a dramatic cut to black midway. This visual gleam, college one take wonder, has a long Hollywood history. Alfredi famously used it in his 1958 thriller Rope and in recent year. Advances in digital technology have made it easier for filmmakers to simulate the illusion in movies like Birdman. You can understand why Mendes' glossy technique for 1917. He and his co-writers Crassley Wilson, Karen Stella Lane paired Dawn's story in something close to real time. He wanted to erase the existence between you and his character, to make you feel as you are right there with them in trenches and on the battlefield. The soldiers are brought in their 20s Dean Carr Charlie Stampion plays Black, and George M.C.K. plays Scofield. Their mission is to travel across miles of bombed out French terrain to deliver an urgent message to a nearby British battalion, warning them that was looked like a German enemy retreats. In fact, are ready trap, raising the stake even further. Black's older brother is a member of that battalion, and he had 1600 other men will almost surely perish if the attack proceeded. Black and Scofield received their order from a general played by the Colin Ford. He is one of the several well-known English actors, including the Benedict, Mark Strong, and Andrew Scott, famously known as the hot praise from Fleabag, who will pop up along the young man's journey to offer a few words of the counsel. But for the most part, Black and Scofield are disparately alone. Upon leaving the trenches, they soon find themselves in a no man's land that looks apocalyptic in a dissolution, the camera never blinking as it follows alongside them. In one especially tense scene, they stumble upon an abandoned German bunker when explosions occur, temporarily blinding Scofield and forcing him to rely on Black guide him through the darkness. The insurance champions as Black, you keep hold of me. We need to keep moving, come out. The explosions in the mine shaft can't help but feel a little Indiana Jones, which point to one of the persistent drawback of Mendes' visual approach. There has always been something a little too persistent and studied about his filmmaking choices, especially in a domestic drama like American Beauty and Revolutionary Road. For all its visual sweep and immediacy, 1917 has the same polished veneer. It's as if Mendes were trying to turn the Great War itself into aesthetic submission. Although the images are elegantly composed and choreographed by the great cinematographer Roger Deakins, the unblinking the camera work sometimes lands the movie the feel of an action-packed video game. Mendes, I kept wondering how to do that, and setting the frame to see where the cut had been digitally concealed. The effect it will pull you out of the movie, rather than drawing you deeper into it. The movie's secret weapon is not its camera work for its majestic orchestral score by Thomas Newman. He is the actor who make for the excellent company, even under their nerve-wracking circumstances. Dean Charlie in first willingly optimistic and Jenny heartbreaking as Black, a young dreamer who liked to tell stories about his home back in England. As played by George M. Sicker, is a quieter, more reserved figure, traumatized by his recent experience fighting in the Battle of his home, which claimed more than 1 million lives and remained one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history. Scofield has become deeply disenchanted with the very idea of war and the futility of all this endless carnage. Mendes clearly shared his aim. The violence since 1917 can flare up without a warning, but it always feels appear and is purposeful. Rather than the blurring and isolative, the great French director Franz Truffaut once said there was no such thing as an anti-war film because in nature of war films 1917, at least here, however, I do wish it spent a bit less time glorifying itself. Justin Cheng is a film critic of the last tomorrow on Fresh Air. We will talk about a trove of secret intelligence cable and report written by officer of Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security. These documents reveal a secret history of the relationship between Iran and Iraq and how Iran's General Soleimani, who the US recently killed, exercised his military and political power in Iraq. The documents were leaked to the internet. We will talk with James Wilson, The Intercept, who formerly covered national security and intelligence for the New York Times. The reporting on these documents were published simultaneously in the Intercept and New York Times. I hope you will join us. Fresh's executive producer is Danny Miller, our technical director, and engineer is Audrey Batman. Our associate producer for digital media is Molly Sevi Nesper. Roberta Sherlock directed the show. I am Cherry Gross. In this story, we incorrectly say actor Andrew Scott in English. He is Irish. Accuracy and availability of NPR transcript may vary. Transcript text may be revised to correct error. How do you define heroism for more than a century? Movies have shaped our the collective idea of the individual and actions that qualify, often making the world appear out of reach to ordinary mortal. Now along comes Sam Mendes, 1917, to smash those assumptions. Revisiting a day of World War I, where did ordinary British soldier. Heroism reflects courage, of course, but it's not the same as an absence of fear. There are scenes in 1970s when audiences will see Black and Scofield panic-stricken, terrified and even in tears. They aren't called for bravery, and yet at times the pair can't help but second-guess their decision to deliver a message that could have saved the life of 1,600 fellow British soldiers. To do so, they must cross the battlefield in broad daylight, infiltrate booby-trapped German bunker, and confront the enemy face to face. One can hardly fault them for being afraid. If anything, the tension they can feel make the character more relatable. Heroism is about doing the right thing, but also about doing the thing that no one else wants to do. To a certain degree, it's about luck. For many heroic act has been thwarted by chance. leaving no one to acknowledge the sacrifice. Also, as 1970s demonstrated the glory place, no party need heroism. Nothing like a patch of ribbon to cheer up a video. One officer cynically remarked, drawing from war stories shared by his grandfather's Alfred, who fought in the trenches. Mendes brilliantly recreated the terrain, physical and emotional, navigated by his unlikely heroes, seen perfectly, napping the beneath a shady tree in the opening scene. In the 2 hour ahead, Mendes will float the player into the realm of nightmare, depicting the World War I as we have never seen it, simultaneously horrific and beautiful, immersive and detached, immediate and impossibly far removed from our own experiences. These paradoxes define the unique sensibility of 1917, which is not necessarily better than such iconic World War I films as War Horse and are quite on a Western front, but different. Mendes has found an additional approach to a familiar subject, refreshing even from a century ago in a way that looks, sounds, and feels absolutely cutting edge. To maintain scenes of the anticipation, the studio shared little about 1917 in advance apart from the fact that Mendes had designed the entire movie to play out in a single shot of planned sequences, as the French call it, or even a Muslim student and the son of Lucis, a Birdman and his rope. Such an audacious choices can often feel like a stunt, drawing audience's attention to the technique or the substances, which is the intermittently the case here. The way Mendes collaborated with WB is as if someone pressed pause on the war and allowed two low-level infantrymen to poke around the space where it all went on. An almost virtual reality version of event conveyed it through the continuous take, but not a quite first-person shooter. Aesthetic of video games are that missing is the ability to choose for oneself where to find the camera. Such decisions are better left to Dickens. The day is April 6, 1917. German forces have retreated from the position they were holding in northern France. Although they are not on a rope or nearly ready to surrender, as some of the British rebels mistakenly believe, the Fritzes have been fallen back to meet up with the reinforcement, hoping to lure the Allies into a trap, and two British battalions are about to fall for it, ready to send a man to certain death the following morning. With communication channels cut and no way of contacting those outfit, the British commanding general Colin fought one of several stars cast as officer, each appearing only briefly. George Clooney and Johan, given the importance of the message, it seemed odd that your unproven foot soldier should be chosen for the task. Archie Blake has a personal stake in seeing the mission. His older sibling is among the first wave of troops he be dispatched in the morning. When we meet him in the film's final minute, the elder Black comes across as a more conventional hero, tall, handsome, covered in blood and mud and the scare of battle. By comparison, his kid brother looked soft and altogether too young to be enlisted. As does best friend Scofield in Mexico case, the reflection of these performances, his character seemed aptly intimidated by the mission. Thomas Newman's score critiques nervously through the first act, which takes place in the trenches as the camera pushes behind Black and Scofield through the crowds of soldiers, alternating between the falling over their soldier and hustling the backward, so we can study their forces to track these two foolhardy volunteers to the front line. At times, the camera can make us feel like a third character along for the ride, and we the audience share in their anxiety. 17 minutes in they hoist themselves up to the surface, and we hold our breath as the camera lifts alongside them, taking in a surreal wasteland so few of the comrades left to see, with half decayed horse corpses and monstrous rats. As it we back above ground track were not daunting enough a horrific micro odyssey that unfold in real time against awesome outdoor set. It gets more intimidating still when they reached the newly vacated German trench. No matter how much we know about World War I going in, Mendes and Draken's visual design withhold and reveal with the information about the surrounding, such as stepping into the dark and spaces require nearly as much nerve force as it does the character. At times the camera lags a split second behind, subliminally recognizing as we sense black, and Scofield suddenly exposed to something beyond our vision. At other we see what's coming before they do, as when a distant aerial dogfight ends with one of the planes crashing almost directly into the camera. During moments like these, it's easy to forget a single short gimmick. Although recurrent sitcoms at press, traditional editing allow filmmaker to tighten and manipulate them for dramatic effect. Various Claire Mandis and editor Lee Smith Jobin was adding these supplies. Was coming to the space he was captured on set. 1917 drags in places, and a bit of quick introspection is welcome in a war movie. Mandis and co-writer Christy Wilson can fill these forgettable stories. A scene involving a cherry orchard crop torn by the Germans during their retreat serves as a good example. Pairing this imagery with many observations about the different varieties of cherry trees. The story feels most exciting when other characters are involved, especially after a shocking off-camera setback threatened the mission. Things pick up about the midway through when he crosses a group of soldiers led by Mark Strong, who take us for as bombed out French village, whereas the scuffle with the German sniper knocks Schofield unconscious. It's clear that the film's only discernible cut occur during a long subjective blackout that drastically shortens the amount of time left to finish his mission. Later that night, as we stumble out into a vision of hell, and humans scored swelterful orchestra as flare illuminate the gore fraction reunion. The next paragraph contains there is still quite a distance to travel to reach the battalion at Coyselwood, where Schofield arrives as a raid is underway, which explains the iconic site. So central to the film's marketing of Max Key running to a swarm of the charging soldier as bombs erupt around him. That short or segment, in light of the film's long, it outrageous and exhilarating in act of last minute. This version by a character who's proved far more sensible about his own safety until now. It also serves as a metaphor for the entire mission, whose heroic dimension has been revealed gradually over time, while the British forces' attention will focus elsewhere. Black and Schofield set out in an entirely different direction, exposing themselves to danger. Perhaps it meant his theatrical side that can't resist the temptation to bring 1917 full circle back to a viewpoint that remains, ironically with the film's opening frame, that intellectually driven choices underscore what a different filmmaker he is from Spielberg or Nolan, with Mendes looking to imprint some kind of poetic sensibility on the technical accomplishment we have just witnessed. If movies aim to show us that war is hell, they can also often make it feel like a highlight reel, all blood and glory and noble sacrifice. Sam Mendes does not have a particularly new tale to tell in 1917. It's essentially an impossible mission drama, like Drunk Ring Saving Pirate Brian, and countless films before it, but he has found a remarkable new way to tell it through a single camera, seemingly unbroken gaze. Shooting the action in what appeared to be one continuous, nearly 2-hour take could feel like merely a filmmaker's trick or just a very clever way to drive actor and production designer out of their mind. Instead, legendary cinematographer Roger Draken, No Country for Old Men. Two soldiers, one sharp and stoic George McK, one genial and the apple-cheeked Jean Charles are not quite sure why they have been selected by the General in Edinburgh to deliver an urgent message to the front, except that one of them has a brother there, about to engage in a battle that any more inform them is actually a trap set by the German. If England troops are not rerouted within the next 6 months, hour, and attack as planned, they will be annihilated. As the pair set off in a sort of a cautious rush, it became clear why they call it no man's land. Whole, whole villages stand early empty. Ransacked or a bobby trap, a floaty pail of milk rest, still fresh in an abandoned barn. The bloated bodies of dead soldiers bob gently against the riverbank like khaki colored logs. For long stretches, the two young infantrymen are entirely alone out there. And then suddenly, viciously, not famous faces firstly, as previously has a great Asabric Tamsa, lieutenant with a seemingly bottomless flash, but the films belong to the jumpman and more than anyone. Maggie, a 27 years old Londoner with the long bones and the baleful eyes of the porcelain saint or a lost Culkin brother. His lance corporal Skyfield is not just us or great everyman. It is hard to argue that Sam Mendes has created one of the best films that have hit theatre in long time with the World War One. Drama 1917, the film follows two British soldiers as they march their way to nearby battalion with an urgent message that could be saved 1600 lives. George M.C.K. and Jan played their parts expertly and carried the film. Of course, the Benedict Cumberbatch and Colin Firth did a fantastic job as well in their essential cameo job. 1917 is one of those films that viewers need to go out of their way to see in theatre to truly appreciate the experiences firsthand. I cannot recall a time where the entire theatre was silent when the movie ended. 1917 ended so for a lack of better terms perfectly that the only thing you could do was sit there and reflect on what you just watched for the past 2 hours. I am not entirely sure if the film was separate into continuous shots or not, but it sure appeared to be that way. It felt as if the camera relay stopped rolling from the opening scene to the end. Sam Mendes deserves all the credit for directing such a phenomenal film. Mendes went out of his way to create a one-of-a-kind viewing experience, detailing the British and German trenches who are a revenge French countryside to an entirely being set ablaze. If this film was in fact then drawn into continuous shot, then even more stops need to given to the entire cast for the bill lead to the countless supporting cast member. It cannot be understand the amount of preparation that had to go into the film as the sequences of event and action was flawless. Because of the style of film and storytelling, there was not much dialogue in the film. But honestly, 1917 does not need a lot of pointless dialogue. The main storytelling in this film was done by the progression of the two main soldiers as they moved across the battlefield, seeing the destruction of the land, destroyed buildings, dead cattle, and even more dead bodies, and more than the mere amount of speaking would have. This also added to the suspense and overall the early tone of the film. There was countless timing during the duration of the film, where the suspense and the anxiety being played out on screen was almost too much to bear. Again, there was not whole of the dialogue, but the action spoke much louder than word and played up beautifully. There really is not anything new in terms of what you have seen in war film, but it's the way Sam Mendes present in that make it feel different. Here is not anything like 1917. 2017 sounds like the future to everyone born in the last millennium, and the movie 1917 is truly embodiment of this year, for worse and the better, steeped in the technology and unable to have existed without it. 1917 is proper to be the one continuous shot. Although I counted 18 likely cuts. Previously, the longest continuous shot had been captured by the Alfred Hitchcock in Rob 1948, when he literally filmed the takes for as long as film reel would go, 11 to 13 minutes, only to be surpassed by the Russian Arc 2002, which was able to be the one long shot due to the power of digital. Of note about the movie, Old Boy 2003 and The Children of Man 2006 contain extended action sequences drawn in just one cut. But 1917 is the first major film to attempt an entirely war movie in a single shot. Film buff will likely feel a thrill just for the suspense of seeing whether the film you makes a mistake. Towards further credit, 1917 features amazing action, added camera work, and seamless CGI easily deserve its inevitable places among us critics' best movie of the year. Yet, much like the year 2020, 1917 is remarkably uninterested in basic history of the reason to be learned from it. The reason for World War One, much less the reason the British soldiers on screen are in France or even fighting in the first place, are never mentioned, much less explored. Like Western movies' splendid action and heroic violence distract from an underlying lack of them, which become apparent in the days following a viewing. Once the emotions wear off, you realize that the film has given you spectacle without much substances. While I praise a movie that feels no need to but to tell a good story. 1917 story does not give you much to chew on, unlike the all-time great war movie. Movies can portray violence as funny, cool, frightening, or bitter. This makes the violence in 1917 feels like that of horror movie. A surprising emotion to find in a war film. Audiences should be aware that the movie goes to level of violence typically found only in the horror genre. I suspect there was a quite lot of cursing in the movie, but noticing it was not on purity. This because felt permeated by the violence. While 1970s features neither nudity nor sexual content, it certainly ends in ardor and should not be shown to the children. 1970s most interesting look at people comes through observing how different characters grieve. In the face of loss, one character feels desperate, another feels disappointing, and one noteworthy character is simply flippant. Our grief observed this sound serious, Lewis honest and raw stage of grief for their wife. And in my copy, Lewis Stephen adds his own foreword explaining that his very British upbringing prevented him from showing emotion when his mother died. This purpose will with one of the characters in the movie, whose reaction to death communicate a stiff upper lip on top of the overwhelming shock. It is easy to recommend 1917 for audiences willing to handle extraordinary gruesome war violence, yet adding character growth, sense setting, and a strong theme would have elevated films from being one of the last movie of the year to the best movie of the decade or even all time. As is 1917 is iconic of the years 2020 in America amazing scary. For the opening of this 2015 Bond movie Spectre, director Sam Mendes who won an Oscar for his first feature. American mounted a memorable sequences set amid Mexico City's Day of the Dead festival. In what appeared to be a single continuous shot, the camera tracks a masked figure through crowded street into a hotel lobby, up an elevator out of a window, and over the rooftop. To deadly assassination is an education. Attention grabbing certain razor widely held as the film's strongest assist. For his latest movie, an award, Garland First War Drama that was already won Best Picture honors at a Golden Globe. Mendes has switched entirely to the load of the one-shot format, this time stretching it cut to the feature length. Like Rope or the 1917 uses several takes and setup, seamlessly conjoined to give the appearance of a continuous cinematic POC, albeit with a parodic ellipsis. The result is a populist, immersive drama that leads the viewer through the trenches and battlefield of the northern France, as two young British soldiers attempt to make their way through enemy line on 6 April 1917. George Mackey and Dean Charles Chapins are perfectly cast as Schofield and Black, the Lance Corporals enlisted to venture into the enemy territory with a message for fellow troopers to launch a potentially assault. The Germans have made a strategic withdrawal, suggesting that they are on the run. In fact, they are laying onward, armed and ready to triple the planned British push to gather these young soldiers must teach their comrade and had the attack, a race against time and the insurmountable odd. Which attention to detail the production designer Dennis and the astonishingly fluid cinematography by Roger Deakins that shift from ground level to the God's eye view. Yet for all the steel trapezoidal efficiency, it is a more low-key moment that really pack a punch. Those moments we are confronted with the simple human cost of war, as with Patrick Jackson's momentally moving documentary They Shall Not Grow Old. 1917 works best when showing us the boyish face of this conflict, the pitiable plight of a young generation, old or lost before their time. Its quality perfectly captured by the MCK endlessly watchable eyes, which manages simultaneously to project reversed innocence and world really exertion, fatalism, and hope. Hope is dangerous thing, says Benedict Colonel MCK is just one of number of small role filled by a high-profile actor happy to play second fiddle. It's a line that mirrored that central refrain from the Shawshank Redemption, another humanist movie tinged with the horror that seemed to haunt Mendes and Christie. Wilson Kenneth's script there is our evocation too of the spellbug, not only in the unflinching description of battlefield violence, but also in plot advices that set a soldier searching for a brother in a desperate quest for redemption. In one of the most surreal or perhaps transcendent sequences, wherein a nighttime underworld is illuminated in the yellow forsaken says, I was unexpectedly reminded of a dream scene from Was Winnie Bashir. In which young man rise from the water, like ghosts walking among the living. Throughout his heroic odyssey, names new man's pulsing score on the tension, traveling up the John Trench, through the body's treacherous carnage of the man's land and wire bone, and into the air environments of deserted farm homes and bombed. In a film in which music plays such a crucial role, a significant that perhaps the most powerful scene in an interlude of this song. Emerging from a river after a baptismal episode of Death and Rebirth, we find ourselves in a wood where a young man sings. The wayfaring stranger is an interlude that brings the character and induces together in silence, communally experiencing the still small voice of calm that lies at his head of so many great war movies. It was one of the more surprisingly moments I have had in a movie theater in recent memory. As the final shot of 1970s directed by Sam Mendes faded and the credit scene rolled, the packed audiences maintained respectful silence and began gathering their things as the first few names scrolled past. Then, as I began to put my coat on, the crowd stopped for a moment and he reacted adorably. And when the cinematographer's name, Roger Deakins, finally appeared, have audiences become that knowledgeable and specialized? I thought to myself. To be fair, I was at a preview performances with other critics. But then again, Deakins is hardly anyone's idea of just another director of the photography. He has earned 14 Oscar nominations since his work on the Shawshank Redemption in 1995, and his resumes include Dead Man Walking, A Beautiful Mind, Doubt, Blade Runner 2014, and nearly every Guerras Brothers movie since 1991. His considerable reputations precede him, but 1917 showcases his masterful technical skill put in the services of Mendes' highly original form of the storytelling. Setting against the backdrop of the heroic trench warfare in France during World War I, Mendes tells the story of two young British soldiers, Lance Corporal Schofield and Lawrence, echoes of the Saving Private Ryan. Apocalypse Now and other classic war films are evident, but 1917 has a sense of relentlessness and charm that is unique. Mendes' vision was to show the entire movie in what appeared to be the one continuous, uninterrupted shot in real time from beginning to end. We are not permitted to look away from those two young soldiers during the film. The camera followed them from a quiet meadow, their arms racing down into the muddy trenches where they received their order. then back through the trenches amid mayhem and the scattered bodies of dead soldiers to make their way into the man's hand. The viewer is several minutes into the 1917 before becoming aware of a pacing and rhythm that is building. I wanted an audience to take every step of the journey with them, to bread every breath, Mendes said. In order to recapture that Mendes and it taken spent out 4 months in a rehearsal blocking out for distance. It required measuring out the actual number of steps the actor needed to take during scenes and then coordinating their journey and dialogue with the camera move this needed to happen. Ultimately, the filming was done in a series of extended, uncut takes that seamlessly connected to look and feel as if one continuous shot. The First World War was a brutal and fertile war of attribution that took place over a relatively small area of land. Progressive could be called that was measured in feet and yards instead of miles. Schofield and Black's journey is a 12-hour mission on foot compressed into a 2-hour real-time film through a plot devices. I won't spoil for you here. Directive through Hell is epic in the scope, but powerfully human and intimate in scale. The nightmare landscape of red infested that we travel through with Adam is not endured for the purpose of winning a war of confronting an enemy, but simply getting a message through. Mendes tale, inspired by his grandfather's fragmentary stories about being a messenger during the First World War, as chaos heavy narrative for its own visual poetry, verse and song. In essence, 1917 is more of a modern epic poem than a war film. Schofield and the Blackest Mendes Dan and Virgil befitting our postmodernists. However, the heroic that 1917 extol have more to do with the endurance and terror than glory and courage in battle. True to film, their disparately Odyssey passes only briefly to indulge in either poetic verse or song. In the first instance, Schofield encountered a young woman hiding in a basement and taking care of an abandoned infant. After giving the girl his canteen filled with milk for the child, he prepared to move on. But before leaving, he looks at the child and recites several words of the Edward Leon's Jojo Blaze. In the midst of the powerful inferno, the only things he can give the young woman, an infant beyond milk, a child's nonsense poem, offered up like a prayer. As we near the end of the journey, at dawn,